Order, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the records show that all council members are present this evening. The last couple of weeks have been really a sad day in the city of Newark and to the Newark family. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to share the unfortunate news that street maintenance worker Luis Bellon unexpectedly passed away on November 16, 2023. Luis was only 33 years old and is survived by his parents and sisters. His friends and co-workers described Luis as a driven and generous man who always had a smile on his face and glasses that made a fashion statement. He used his vacation days to fly to Las Vegas to watch the sports he loved, like UFC, MMA, and boxing. Most of all, Luis loved his mom and was helping her start her own catering business. He was excited about the Class A driving classes he started recently. Luis was also a proud City of Oakland native. As a mark of respect for Luis and his family and to honor his dedication and service to our community, the city manager, rightfully so, directed all flags on city properties to be flown at half-staff for 3 days after his passing. As we mourn the untimely departure of a dedicated public servant, let us also remember the joy and positivity that Luis brought into our lives. Please join me for a moment of silence in memory of Luis Bellon. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is a commendation for Beverly Ryans. Ms. Ryans, would you please join me at the podium? This is unprecedented in the city of Newark. You know, our goal has been to hire and retain staff, including and especially public safety staff. So it's with sadness that we see one of our own retiring, though we recognize how enjoyable retirement can be, giving us more time to spend with family and friends. So we're here to commend Beverly Ryans for her service to the city of Newark. Whereas Beverly Ryans began her career with the city of Newark in the Public Works Department in November of 2002 as an administrative support specialist 2, where she provided support to the engineering division covering the front counter, where she assisted customers in person and over the phone, scheduled appointments, issued encroachment permits, sold project plans, and invoiced utilities. Whereas Beverly Ryans continued to serve the Public Works Department by sharing her time between the engineering division and the city's corporate yard, where she assisted with invoicing and payroll preparations. Whereas Beverly Ryans transitioned to working half-time in the city administrative offices, where she performed clerical duties support for the city manager's office staff, assisted the city clerk with city council, packet development, and prepared the council chambers for the city council meetings. Whereas Beverly Ryans transitioned to the Newark Police Department, where she timely and accurately processed the complex department payroll. She coordinated 9 years of Citizen Police Academy classes, and she continually provided outstanding professional support services to all city staff that she came into contact with. Whereas following a distinguished career with the City of Newark, Beverly Ryan's Administrative Support Specialist 2 is retiring after 21 years of excellent service and commitment to the Newark community. Now, therefore, I, Michael Hannon, Mayor of the City, on behalf of my colleagues on the City Council, thank Beverly Ryan's for her dedication to the City of Newark and wish her the very best in all future endeavors. I asked Beverly if she wanted to say a few words. Sheepishly, she said, no. It's great when a community like ours can recognize outstanding public servants. And as we now transition, it's my great honor to introduce new employees to the City of Newark. And oh, by the way, these are all new police officers. And our chief is to be commended because one of her goals as she's transitioned into retirement was, I want to try to bring the police department and public safety back to full staffing. And we're well on our way to achieving that under her leadership. So I would ask Michael Orozco to join me. So Officer Michael Orozco grew up in San Francisco and graduated from Balboa High School. He's attending Skyline College and is nearing the completion of an AA Administration of Justice degree. Officer Orozco currently holds a student pilot certificate from the Federal Aviation Administration and has accumulated approximately 50 flight hours on a Cessna 172 aircraft. He was recognized for his first solo flight at his flight school at the San Carlos Flight Center. In his spare time, Officer Orozco enjoys aviation, automotive, off-road dirt bikes, ATVs, football, and spending time with his family. Please join me in welcoming our new officer. If Officer Terrence Stevenson can join me, please. Officer Terrence Stevenson not only graduated from South Bay Regional Public Safety Training Consortium, she was awarded the Dr. Susan Oliveri Leadership Award as chosen by the Police Academy Coordinator and Academy instructors. That in and of itself is substantial. Congratulations. Officer Stevenson was born and raised in Burbank and graduated from Burbank High School. After high school, Officer Stevenson attended Cal State University East Bay, where she graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice with an emphasis in law enforcement. Officer Stevenson began her career in law enforcement as a volunteer intern with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department as a crime analyst specializing in international and domestic terrorism. In her spare time, Officer Stevenson enjoys running, finding new trails to run on, hanging out with friends, country line dancing, we won't ask you to demonstrate, and spending time in Burbank. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. You know, we could continue to do this all night long. You know, I just wish I had like 3 or 4 more pages of new police officers to welcome aboard. Christian Lara. Officer Christian Lara grew up in San Fernando Valley and graduated from Granada Hills Charter High School. After high school, Officer Lara attended Cal State University East Bay as a student, athlete playing in the men's soccer team. He received several athletic awards, including Cal State East Bay Golden Boot and SCAA West Region 3 Team Honors and CCAA Honorable Mention Team when we take on Fremont in soccer. This is our guy. He also had a 31-year university record by scoring 3 goals and providing 3 assists during a single match. He ultimately earned his bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Officer Lara continued his college studies at Cal State University, Los Angeles, where he earned his master's degree in criminal justice. Prior to being hired with our department, Officer Lara was a director of school outreach for insight treatment programs overseeing multiple facilities. In his spare time, Officer Lara enjoys spending time with his fiancée and daughter, working out, playing and watching soccer, and trying new foods. Officer Lara, do you have a Premier League soccer team favorite?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
I'm torn between teams right now.
All right, as long as one of those teams is Newcastle, we're good. Welcome. Good to see you. Officer Vincent Townsend, please. Officer Vincent Townsend grew up in El Cerrito and graduated from El Cerrito High School. After high school, Officer Townsend attended UC Davis for 2 years before transferring to St. Mary's, go Gales, where he graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts degree in politics. Officer Townsend continued his education at the University of San Francisco School of Law. We obtained a Juris Doctor. Outstanding, outstanding. Your family should be real proud of you. He took and passed the California bar exam, which, by the way, is not easy, in 2016. He also obtained his Master's of Business Administration from the University of San Francisco School of Management. Officer Townsend served 6 years in the U.S. Air Force. Thank you for your service to our country. As a member of the Tactical Air Control Party, TACP. He was deployed 3 times to Kandahar, Afghanistan in 2014, Mosul, Iraq in 2005-06, and Ramadi, Iraq 2006. In his spare time, Officer Townsend, other than academics, enjoys off-road Jeep trips, adventure motorcycling, and spending time with his wife Loma, son Robbie, and 2 dogs, Mimi, a 160-pound Mastiff, and Tony, a Stafford Terrier. I'd like to see those pictures side by side. I'd like to welcome the Lee family to join me, please. Now, this is a family we are definitely going to miss. Whereas in 1970, Oakland resident Edwin Wing Lee was driving along Highway 17 when he took the Thornton Avenue exit and entered Newark. Whereas Edwin Wing Lee turned into the Old Town Center, where ultimately a business opportunity presented itself. Whereas opening a restaurant that served Chinese-American cuisine was Edwin Wing Lee's long life passion. Whereas Mr. Lee and wife Chongan? Choi, thank you. Opened the Jade Palace and immersed themselves in the Newark community, serving good food and cultivating a loyal customer base. Their children and grandchildren eventually joined the family business. Whereas after 54 years, the Lee family decided it was time to close their doors and sent their loyal customers off with them one last time in November. Now, therefore, I, Michael Hannon, along with my city council members, want to thank the Lee family for an outstanding business, excellent cuisine, and being loyal to the Newark community. We greatly appreciate it. So on behalf of the council, I'm going to present you with a commendation, thanking your family for all that they've done to our city over these past many years.
telephone was talking.
What was that?
Your telephone was talking.
Oh, was it? Colleagues, the next item on the agenda is to adopt a resolution confirming my appointment to the Planning Commission and administration of the oath of office. We've not done that in the past, where we have administered the oath of office to planning commissioners. And this being my first appointment to the Planning Commission, I thought it was important to demonstrate how valuable we find those folks that serve on this commission are, not only to the Newark community, but to us as well, because they preview and review all development proposals before we see them, and a significant amount of work goes into the work they do day in and day out. So I thought it was important that we begin recognizing their service to our community, and I wanted to do that this evening. So I would ask, if I may, for a motion and a second to approve my candidate for the Planning Commission. And I'll open up to the public for comments. Thank you. Anybody online, Ms. Lafter, that would like to comment on this item? Okay. Any comments from my colleagues? If not, I'll look for a motion. Okay, that motion is moved and seconded by.
Sorry, Your Honor. I don't think you've identified who the person is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yet, so.
I guess that would be important. I have selected Julie Del Cantancio, and I apologize, Julie, if I mispronounced the last name, to be a new member of the Planning Commission. So with that being said, I would ask your support for her on the Planning Commission. By Councilmember Bucci, by Councilmember Freitas. Please vote. Start voting? Nope. Okay.
I did too.
That passes unanimously 5-0. If I would ask Mr. Cantancio to join me at the podium?
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark approving the appointment of Julie Del Cantancio to the Planning Commission.
I, please state your name.
I, Julie Del Cantancio,
And repeat after me, that I will support and defend,
that I will support and defend,
let me go back, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully
and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. I'm going to have Julie say a few words and introduce her family that are here to support her. But before I do that, I want to take recognition of two of our planning commissioners that are here this evening to join in this ceremony. Planning Commissioner Bill Fitz, please stand and be recognized. And Ms. Bogusic, please stand and be recognized. As you say a few words, I will sign where I need to sign, or should I have Julie sign first? Does it matter? Okay. Bill, you'll be happy to know I put a little caveat in here, Bill, that says that Julie will serve on the planning commission as long as you have. I'll get this to the clerk.
I want to thank you for this appointment, and it is with great honor that I will be serving Newark, California. So I also wanted to thank my family and friends that are here today as well, my husband Jeffrey, Jalila, Terrence, Stephen, and Isha. Thank you.
Photo, okay? I think we need to sign one more, Julie. Need to sign one more. Come over here. Anybody want to take a photograph? If not, somebody can take it from me. Absolutely.
This is my husband and my daughter.
I like that jacket.
Congratulations, Julie. The next item on the agenda is public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on any item that is not on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on any item not on the agenda this evening? Please come forward and be kind enough to state your name, and happy to hear what you have to say. Can we turn that mic around? We should never have to ask our residents to do work like this. Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Caroline Harris. I'm a resident of Fremont, but I'm also the chair of the Tri-City Ecology Centre. And I want to remind you that we had a study done this summer of the local hazard mitigation of risks. And it was pointed out that the biggest risk that we face in this Tri-City area is from seawater rise, flood, inundation, and groundwater rise. And with that, I would say that we're going to try and preserve as much of the open space as we currently possibly have in Newark. And in particular, I'm talking about the Maori Village proposal. And we think that that should remain as open space parkland. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, please come forward. Good evening.
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Jasper Jackson, and I'm a Newark resident for 24 years now. We picked this place because of Don Edwards and the proximity to our house. Do a lot of outdoor stuff, activities. It's with a stressful Silicon Valley, it's the only reprieve. I am here to ask you today to also oppose the Maori Village project. Once we flip parkland to development, there's no going back. If you look at the percent of available wildlife area in the Bay Area, it's receding tremendously, and that only contributes to, global warming. All we do is fill it in with concrete jungle, and I would like my house to be above the flood zone. We fill that in with toxic dirt. Everybody who lives within 10, 20 miles in 2 decades will be at mercy of flooding. So call it New Orleans.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Liz Ames. I'm a Union City resident. I'm also a member of the Tri-City Ecology Center, and I'm their BART director. So I represent Hayward, Newark, Union City, and Fremont. And I just wanted to convey the importance of the Baylands, and I appreciate the speakers because we are opposed to the Maori Village project. And when we work with scientists, I've worked with a few scientists about the sea level rise and coming up with a master plan. And the scientists are saying, when the water is rising, it has to come inland. Okay, and the water has to go somewhere. We can't just levee up the bay. I kind of joke around with the scientists. I'm like, what are we going to do? Create a pond? Is San Francisco Bay going to become a pond if we levee up everything? And this isn't feasible because the scientists are saying the water is rising and has to go inland, and then we're going to create a whole new shoreline. So this is an ecosystem. It's a living place. So we don't want to start building towards the marshlands, even the uplands. That could be the potential new shoreline with the new habitat, if you can imagine this. So we don't want to see any kind of development there except marshlands, potential marshlands, and shoreline. And then I do want to applaud the city for being, very progressive in their job growth. I think since 2010, you grew your jobs about almost 40% since 2010. And you're very fiscally conservative. You're trying to get new revenues. But when you look at these kind of projects, you're going to have operating and maintenance expenses when you start building out there, and you're going to regret this decades from now, and your children are going to regret this, and they're probably going to have to pay higher taxes to pay for this additional expense to the city. So right now you're in a good place, so let's keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public that would like to comment? Public comment is closed. I just want to make a note, folks, that we don't, as a matter of, is there anybody online that would like to comment? Okay. We do, as a matter of course, council don't comment on public comment, but I do want you to know that your comments certainly don't fall on deaf ears. We hear you. We understand your passion in this area, but we simply can't comment on these items, as you can imagine. Thank you. The next item is the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of the following, D1 through D15. Are there any items that staff would like pulled from the consent calendar?
Not this evening, Your Honor.
Are there any items the public would like pulled from the consent calendar? Ms. Flapter, is there anybody online that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Colleagues, are there any items that you would like pulled from the consent calendar?
Item 15.
Thank you. D15?
D.
I'm sorry, D15.
For me, D.
Oh, yours is D, which one?
12.
D12.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So D15 and D12. Colleagues, anything else? I'm going to pull D9 and D15 also. So otherwise, the consent calendar consists of the following. 1 is the approval of audited demands. 2, approval of the November 9, 2023 minutes. 3, motion approving the 2024 local appointments list and distribution. 4, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contractual services agreement with M&S Engineering Incorporated for construction management services for the Central Avenue Overpass, Project 1014, and approving an amendment to the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024. D5, adopt a resolution to approve an agreement with Forensic Logic LLC, a sound thinking company, for crime tracer software, and approve an amendment to the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024. 6, adopt a resolution approving the second amendment to the contractual services agreement with Client First Consulting Group LLC for technology consulting services. 7, adopt a resolution approving amendment number 2 to the contractual services agreement with West Coast Arborists for tree maintenance services. 8, adopt a resolution approving a side letter agreement to the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Newark and the Newark Police Management Association to provide compensation to police lieutenants for certain overtime work associated with the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program grant. Yours was D12, yes?
D12.
Thank you. D9, I'm going to pull. D10, adopt a resolution approving a side letter with the New York Police Association to provide temporary benefits relating to the temporary critical staffing schedule and approve an amendment to the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan. D11, adopt a resolution authorizing the deletion of one full-time equivalent lead public safety dispatcher and the addition of one full-time equivalent public safety dispatch supervisor to the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024, amending resolution number 2505, employee classification plan to include the public safety dispatch supervisor classification, approving a side letter with the Newark Police Association, NPA, to add the classification of public safety dispatch supervisor and assign salary steps and approve an amendment to the city's salary schedule in accordance with California Code Regulations Title Number 2, Section 570.5. D13, adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 dump trucks for the Public Works Department Maintenance Division directly from an auto dealership and amending the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024. 14, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the second amendment to the contractual services agreement with the Community Planning Collaborative and authorizing amendment to the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024 to provide funding for consultant services related to the 2023-2031 housing element. Can I get a motion, colleagues, to pass those items?
So moved.
By Vice Mayor Collazo, second by Councilmember Jorgens. Please vote. And those items all pass unanimously. I'm going to go in reverse order. City, I hope that's not a problem. Number D15, Councilmember Bucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 15 has to do with the reappointment of Eric Hinchke to our mosquito abatement program. And I didn't want to just breeze past this because Eric's done just such an outstanding job for us. And I'll tell you, before I was even elected to council, I would come to meetings and there was always a guy sitting in the back at every meeting. And I'm willing to bet that he's been to more meetings than a lot of us. So Eric's here tonight, and I wanted to just say thank you for the service on the committee. You've done a great job. Went over the summer when we had some issues with a number of different types of mosquitoes, and then we had the what is it, Eric? What the flare up? What did we have out there? It was, what is wrong with me? No, there was some sort of mosquito disease going around, and I don't know why I just drew a blank on. Thank you. And as soon as the West Nile was detected, Eric was right on top of it and was keeping us informed and was working with the committee to make sure that they nipped that in the bud. And the mosquito abatement group does a whole lot more than just sitting around meeting all the time. And Eric is the chair of that committee, and he has represented us well. So, Eric, I just want to thank you for your efforts, and I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Councilmember Bucci, I think you stole exactly everything I was going to say. Here's a gentleman that is not only a longtime Newark resident, but he has served on this committee since 2016. We're real proud of the service that you've done for our community. We're real appreciative of the service you've done for your community. And I'm going to let my colleague make the motion to adopt this matter.
Thank you. I would move for the reappointment of Eric Hinchke to our mosquito abatement.
And I'll second. Let's vote on this item. And that passes unanimously. I didn't realize this, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this Councilmember Bucci was making his comments that at some point when we get a little bit tongue-tied, we can call a friend, in the audience. So I may utilize that in the future. City Attorney?
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark approving the reappointment of Eric Hinchke to the Alameda County Mosquito Abatement District.
And I'll go now to D12, Vice Mayor Collazo.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this is approving the contract for the video and audio. And when we talk in here, you can hear us. So I'm hoping that takes care of that. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because the audio to me looks good, But sometimes when people are speaking, it's a sense, so where did that word end and the other one start? It all ran together with a s. Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure that it was going to take care of this sound system.
You move that item?
I have moved to approve number D12.
Thank you. Second? By Councilmember Freitas. Please vote. And that passes unanimously.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark approving a contractual services agreement with integrated communication systems to provide professional audio/video solutions, amending the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024.
And I asked to pull D9, and the reason I asked to pull D9 is really more of a, Mr. Benoon, a compliment to city staff. As I reviewed the report, one of the items that stood out for me in terms of the findings by the consultant, where they indicated based on this 5-year report, it is clear that the DIFs have been committed or spent within the 5-year period as required by law. We, the City of Newark, take our financial responsibility seriously, and when we are given the task of demonstrating how these funds are being used and making sure the funds are being used for what they were entitled to, we make sure we do so in full compliance with the state law. So congratulations, Ms. Lee, to you and your department, and congratulations, City Manager, for a job well done. With that, I'll move for approval of this item. Second by Councilmember Bucci. Please vote. And that passes unanimously.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark accepting the annual and 5-year mitigation fee report for fiscal year ended June 30, 2023, and making certain required findings.
Next item, folks, are our public hearings. The first item is E1. It's a public hearing to consider introducing an ordinance adding Chapter 17.15 to the Newark Municipal Code to establish the by right housing, BRH overlay district, amending the zoning map by applying H overlay district to specific parcels and making related miscellaneous amendments to Title 17 zoning of the Newark Municipal Code. I understand, Mr. Benoon, there's a minor change to the memo that was provided to staff. Do you want to elaborate?
That's correct, Your Honor. Before we get to that, I understand that we have two.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Collazo.
At this time, I would like to recuse myself as I have real property interest and business interest in the source of income in Mexico Tortilla Factory at 7015 Thornton Avenue and rental properties at 7155, 7167, 7179 Thornton Avenue, and real property interest and business interest in rental property at 36805 Magnolia Street. So now I shall leave.
And Councilmember Freitas.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I will ask to be recusing because I have interest on the real property at interest in business interest on the property at 37220 Magnolia Street. Thank you.
Thank you. And then there were 3. Mr. Benoon.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. This is a public hearing to consider staff's recommendation to introduce an ordinance. This would implement certain provisions of our housing element. There are some last-minute additions that are outlined in a memorandum contained on the dais, and as part of the presentation this evening, Mr. Turner will certainly speak to that. The staff report this evening will be presented by our Community Development Director, Mr. Turner. Pass it over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, City Manager Benoon. Good evening, council members. Again, Stephen Turner, your Community Development Director. Pleased to present the Planning Commission's recommendation for the by right housing overlay district and parcel rezoning. The agenda for tonight will consist of the following. I'll provide a very brief overview of our 2023-2031 housing element, speak to the by right housing requirements that are part of state law, including identifying applicable sites and qualifying residential development. We'll look at the sites that are proposed for the rezoning, briefly touch on the zoning ordinance amendments, and then wrap up with the findings, notice, environmental review, and the Planning Commission and staff recommendation for this evening. So just an overview of the housing element. It's a plan for, it's the city's plan, long-term plan for developing the housing needs of the community. The cities, of course, create the rules and policies where housing should go and where housing is developed. Of course, we don't actually develop housing. That is for property owners to propose to the city, but we certainly create the policies and conditions for which those housing units could be built. The housing element includes our goals, policies, and programs, and there's an emphasis on housing production targets, emphasized through the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or RHNA. In Newark, for the 2023-2031 housing element, Newark needs to plan for 1,874 units. The housing element is updated every 8 years, and it's the only element of the general plan that has to be reviewed and approved by the state. So the overview of the preparation of our housing element, we've been working at that for about 2 years now. We've had the draft housing element prepared and available for public review for most of this year. The Planning Commission reviewed the housing element on October 24th. The council provided their review on the 26th and ultimately adopted the housing element at that time. Throughout much of this year as well, the state's Department of Housing and Community Development has been working with staff in reviewing our housing element. We've made a lot of very good progress with them, and we do expect certification by the end of this month. So as part of the housing element, of course, we need to identify sites that can be developed with housing. And for many years and many cycles, housing sites have been carried over from one housing element to another. The city determines that those sites from previous housing elements are still viable housing sites and still could be developed with housing. And oftentimes they're carried over from one housing element to another. The state, in its wisdom, developed state law that said for this particular housing element, if cities and jurisdictions are carrying over sites from previous housing elements, that those housing sites must be developed by right, as long as they meet applicability standards and have qualifying developments. So as part of the carrying over of reuse sites and designating them as by right development, those sites have to be rezoned to reflect the by right development allowance. And that rezoning has to occur by January 31st of next year, which is 1 year after the state's statutory housing element adoption deadline. So what are applicable sites? So as I mentioned before, those are sites that are reuse sites from those sites must allow residential densities of at least 20 units per acre, and the sites must be large enough to accommodate a minimum of 16 units. In looking at our entire inventory of sites that we're proposing for the housing element, there are about 26 sites that kind of fit that category and fit that applicability standards. That list of applicable sites is provided in your staff report in Attachment 1, Exhibit C. And all of the sites that we've identified are already allow residential uses as a permitted use. So this is a map showing the location of those sites. They're located throughout the city, but primarily kind of focused around Thornton Avenue, and particularly in the Old Town area. A few sites off of Filbert and Sycamore Street. The Old Town Shopping Center on Newark Boulevard is identified as a site, as well as the sites on Cedar Boulevard, which are transitioning over from industrial uses to residential uses. That site also includes the Easy 8 Motel, which is zoned for high density and would be a by right housing site. So what is a qualifying development? So a qualifying development is a proposed residential project that provides a minimum of 20% of those units as set aside as affordable for lower income households. Those projects must comply with all of the objective standards and site development criteria that apply within the zoning district where the site is located. Qualifying residential projects on those sites would be allowed by right without any discretionary review, and those projects would be considered ministerial. Design review is the primary discretionary process that would be most affected by the proposed action. We do have quite a number of objective standards built into zoning code already, so it minimizes sort of the impact on that. And as part of staff set efforts this coming year, we'll be looking at our objectives design standards and bringing forward new standards for the Planning Commission and City Council to consider that helps take the place of design review. So that will be a project we'll be working on next year. And then finally, CEQA review is not required for ministerial projects, so CEQA would not want to apply for those qualifying projects on those sites. To affect the by right allowance, staff is recommending an addition to our existing section 1703.010 to establish the by right housing overlay district, and then a new chapter, chapter 17.15, the by right housing overlay district itself, which describes the purpose, applicability, the permitted uses, and the procedures that would be required for development of those by right sites. This action is consistent with the general plan and particularly with the new housing element policy H31, which does allow by right approval of projects with the 20% affordable units on those reuse sites, and directs the staff to amend the zoning ordinance as required to effectuate that allowance. And that's really the purpose of this meeting tonight, is to be consistent with that housing element policy. The findings of fact are included in your staff report, but includes statements that this action is consistent with the general plan, that any change in district boundaries is necessary to achieve the balance of land uses desired by the city, and that the amendment will promote the orderly growth of city in a manner and promote the public health, safety, peace, comfort, and general welfare. The public notice for this item, there was a newspaper advertisement published on November 28th, and mailed notices were sent to property owners of the affected parcels, as well as property owners within 500 feet of each affected parcel. In terms of environmental review, the requested action is exempt from CEQA pursuant to state CEQA guidelines, and that there's no changes to existing land use or intensity of that land use. There would be no project entitlements approved with this action, and there's no potential for causing a significant effect on the environment. The Planning Commission reviewed this proposal at their meeting on November 14th and voted 5-0 to approve the staff recommendation. Along with their recommendation, the Planning Commission recommended that the proposed Chapter 1715 is revised to clarify that district means zoning districts, and that is one of the items that staff is recommending to add to for your consideration this evening. So the staff recommendation from Planning Commission and staff recommends that the council adopt an ordinance adding Chapter 1715 to the Newark Municipal Code, establishing the by right housing overlay district and amending the Newark zoning map by applying that overlay district to specific parcels and making related miscellaneous amendments to Title 17 of the Newark Municipal Code. Along with that recommendation, staff has the recommendation to include the Planning Commission's clarification of district to zoning districts, as well as make a correction to a typographical error in the proposed Chapter 17.15. With that, that concludes staff's presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Colleagues, before I open up to the public for comments or questions, any comments or clarifying questions? Councilmember Bucci.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, you had mentioned the mail that went out to the neighbors and everybody within 500 feet, but you did not mention if we got any communications back. Did we hear from anybody?
Thank you. We've received a number of questions from interested residents about how this action would affect their properties. We've answered those questions, but have not received any specific comments or concerns or support from the public on this matter.
Okay. Is this the last amendment that we'll need to do to get the housing element approved by the state?
This is an action that is separate from the housing element certification action. It's a program within the housing element that the city is committed to doing, particularly by January 31st, 2024. It's not a requirement that we do this to get the housing element certified. We can get certified Without this, however, the city needs to take action to amend the zoning ordinance for this by right project by January 31st, 2024. So
Okay.
they're two separate actions.
Okay, that's all for now. Thank you.
Councilmember Jorgens.
Yeah, thank you. And just so I can get my head around by right a little bit more. So if we were to have higher standards on, affordability or zoning in the underlying district, would that be the higher standard need to, or would it be, if a project qualifies for the state, even if it's lower than the affordability or density requirements in the underlying district, that would still qualify as a by right project?
Per state law, it would qualify as a by right project. However, if the city wants to adopt more strict standards, the city can certainly do so. I think the state would, in sort of reviewing our standards, would want to make sure that we are not enacting sort of unnecessary or harmful barriers to the development of affordable housing. So having site development regulations that are very strict or onerous, perhaps in the view of either the state or property owners, could be seen as a barrier for development of housing. So we would need to be careful about those standards that the city might want to adopt in the future to make sure that those barriers aren't present.
All right, thank you.
Just a couple clarifying questions. I want to make sure the audience heard you clearly. All of the parcels that we've identified already have an underlying zoning of residential.
Yes, either they allow residential uses as a permitted use, and most of the project sites are zoned either medium or high density residential. Some are zoned commercial mixed use, which allows a mixture of commercial and residential uses.
And these are properties that we had previously identified in previous cycles, 4 and 5. What we could have done, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we wanted to remove a parcel from this round, we could have done that and it would not have been subject to this requirement.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? Thank you. I did like Councilmember Jorgen's question regarding some latitude that the city might have. And my question then would be, these 20% units would be earmarked for low-income residents. Could we, the city, designate or require that the units be designated for very low-income residents? Or would the state view that, in your opinion, as a barrier?
No, I believe that the city can adopt those particular affordability level standards on our own. And we do have that currently as part of our alternative methods for complying with our affordable housing requirements. As you might know, developers can choose primarily to pay a fee in order to satisfy their affordable housing requirements. As an alternative, they can provide units. And they need to provide units at specific numbers and ratios as described in the housing impact fee ordinance that council has adopted. Yeah. So council can choose to modify that, and in fact, city staff will be, next year, will be very busy, but bringing forward another project to look at an inclusionary housing requirement. And at that time, the city council can consider additional percentages of affordable housing requirements or their affordability levels.
Great. I would only ask Mr. Benoon if you'd kind of put a placeholder on that, just to remind council interest to us that we might want to revisit those ratios at that time. The public hearing is now open to consider introducing an ordinance adding Chapter 17.15 to the Newark Municipal Code to establish the by right housing overlay district, amending the Newark zoning map by applying the BRH overlay district to specific parcels and making related miscellaneous amendments to Title 17 zoning of the Newark Municipal Code. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Ms. Slatcher, is anybody online that would like to speak to this item?
No, Your Honor.
Council, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any final questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Thank you for your work in this area. And I'm certain that we're not done with the state of California continuing to come in and meddle with local governments in terms of how we manage zoning and residential uses and things of that nature. I look forward to the next opportunity to work with the state in that regard. With that being stated, I look for a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I will move the item as recommended, and do I need to add that we will be changing the language from district to zoning district in the motion? Okay,
We would request that the motion be made that included the slip sheet recommendation.
okay, so yeah, we're gonna strike district and replace it with zoning district in the motion.
Great.
And I'll second.
The motion is made by Councilmember Bucci and seconded by Councilmember Jorgens. Please vote.
Can you reset? I'm stuck.
I'm certain, yes. I'm going to reset.
Thank you.
Somehow. I'm just going to go tally and then.
Okay.
Voting. And that passes 3 ayes with Vice Mayor Collazo and Councilmember Freitas recusing themselves.
Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newark adding Chapter 1715 to the Newark Municipal Code to establish the by right housing overlay district, rezoning certain property into the BRH overlay district and making miscellaneous amendments in zoning of the Newark Municipal Code.
I'm proud to say you're still the owner of the Mexican tortilla factory. That never gets old, does it?
No, never gets old.
You, on the other hand, Councilmember Freitas, I got some bad no.
Wow, don't tell me.
The next item is other business. We're looking to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contractual services agreement in a form approved by the city attorney with Ascent Environmental Incorporated for an update to the city's climate action plan and amend the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan. Mr. Benoon?
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. This is a recommendation from city staff that authorize the city to enter into an agreement with a consultant to prepare and update our climate action plan. Last time we updated or created the plan was well over 10 years ago, and obviously circumstances have changed, as well as state law. Tonight, our environmental services manager, Mr. James Scanlon, will provide the council staff report. Mr. Scanlon, have you had the opportunity to load the computer program and your PowerPoint?
Yes, and hopefully it will come up.
Okay.
Do I need to do something else? I plugged it in. What's that? I think so, yes. Display settings. Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. It's an honor to be here this evening. This evening, I will present a proposal to consider updating the city's climate action plan. So in this presentation, I'll provide background on the causes and effects of climate change, review the status of the city's greenhouse gas reduction efforts, describe the state's latest greenhouse gas reduction targets, the proposed approach to updating the climate action plan, and describe how this can be integrated with ongoing city activities. Okay. So climate change is the long-term alteration of the Earth's average weather patterns. It results from increased greenhouse gas emissions, primarily carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. This causes global temperatures to rise, resulting in more frequent and severe weather events, rising sea level, and disruptions to ecosystems. We are already experiencing the effects of climate change. from extreme weather events like heat waves, fires, and flooding. These changes directly affect our residents' quality of life, safety, and access to essential resources. The city has a long history of being proactive in addressing the threat of climate change. In 2007, Mayor David Smith signed the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement, thereby committing the city to taking action for climate protection. The Climate Action Plan set a target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from activities within the city to 1990 levels by 2020. The city has taken several actions before and since adoption of the Climate Action Plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and achieve its reduction targets. For example, the city implemented energy efficiency upgrades at the Silliman and community centers, and the Civic Center project achieved Leadership in Energy and Design certification, that's LEED certification, and installed bay-friendly water-efficient landscaping. Other actions the city has taken include implementing organics recycling for residents and businesses, improving construction and demolition debris recycling, establishing Class 4 bike lanes, implementing polystyrene and single-use bag bans, and will shortly or soon convert to energy-efficient LED street lighting in early 2024. And this will be a significant reduction in energy use for the city. The streetlights account for over 30% of our current electricity use. And the city joined EBCE, now Community Energy, in 2019, and selected Bright Choice as the default option for residents and businesses. Ava Bright Choice obtains approximately 42% of its electricity from renewable sources. So, due to the increasing awareness of the threat of climate change, the state has adopted much more aggressive greenhouse gas reduction targets. The state's current target is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 40% below 1990 levels by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2045. Again, the target in the city's 2010 Climate Action Plan was to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 1990 levels by 2020. The new state target is 40% below 1990 levels by 2030. So staff is proposing to update the city's climate action plan to align with the new state targets. Staff released an RFP and received 3 proposals. Ascent Environmental had the highest ranked proposal. Ascent is well qualified for the work. They recently completed Fremont's climate action plan, and they also developed Milpitas's climate action plan and many others. The scope includes development of a community outreach plan that will be outreach to both residents and businesses, evaluating greenhouse gas emission reductions achieved to date, assessing co-benefits of proposed actions, for example, city beautification through tree planting, or improved health of residents through increased biking and walking opportunities. We will also evaluate sector-specific greenhouse gas reduction strategies, develop an implementation and monitoring plan, and conduct a SEQA review. It is anticipated that this will be an 18-month process. The scope does not include sea level rise vulnerability assessment and mitigation plan. Staff plans to release an RFP in January to conduct that work. The city has several ongoing initiatives that are related to climate action plans and greenhouse gas emissions, such as the Facilities Master Plan and the Parks Master Plan. I've listed some activities that other local municipalities have included in their climate action plans and that the city could consider. Potential actions related to the Facilities Master Plan include transition to AVA Renewable 100 service, and AVA Renewable 100 gets 100% of electricity from solar and wind. Also, we could develop solar generation capacity at the facilities and installing energy efficiency software. Potential actions related to the Park Master Plan include bay-friendly landscaping and reduced water use, and applying compost to the turf in city parks. The proposal to adopt a zero waste policy is part of the 2010 Climate Action Plan, and this can continue to be pursued as we develop the updated plan. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution to authorize the city manager to execute a service agreement with Ascent Environmental Incorporated to assist with the development of an updated climate action plan and amend the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any folks from the public that want to comment first before I come back to the council. Any public comment on this item? Ms. Slapter, anybody online? Okay. Vice Mayor Collazo.
I do have a question. So did we hit the 2020 level of coming down to the 1990 levels?
Part of the scope for this will be to assess that. Some of the data is a little difficult to dig into, so that will be part of the scope of work here.
Okay.
And some things that we're doing now, like the LED lighting and the AVA community bright choice, that didn't come into effect until 2021. So we'll assess those things as well when we look at it and see where we are at this point and how we did for 2020
So
as
we
well.
might be a little bit behind.
Possibly. It's hard to tell. The PG&E data is a little, changes a little bit from year to year because sometimes industry is included, sometimes it's not because of privacy concerns with how much energy industry is using. So a lot of cities have gone to just looking at residential rather than including residential and commercial, not including industrial. So we'll probably have to adjust our baseline that we were looking at, probably exclude the industrial from it because of that. So, but we'll know shortly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Councilmember Jorgens.
Just two comments for me. In the 2010 cap, we did look at the impact of zoning on our environmental impact. I think it'd be helpful to have a little bit more robust section there, just so we have a better sense of, our zoning decisions and how we're using our built environment and how that's impacting our greenhouse gas reduction targets. And my other comment is, we need to, this is a comprehensive thing. Everything we do is, impacting our ability to meet our targets here. And, as we look at reducing our vehicle miles traveled, which was a big component of the last one, I assume it will be on this one too, looking at, what codes we do have around, especially bicycle parking, and making sure that we do have sufficient bicycle parking, within our current codes, because it's tough to make decisions about what changes we should make, if, what we're doing is, not in line with our code right now. So just to make sure that, as we look at potential changes over this 18-month process, that, we're looking at what we currently have, especially with regards to bicycle parking and how we're reducing our vehicle miles traveled, and, making sure that, what we're doing in the future is in line with, what we can already do with, where code is.
Yeah, yes, we can do that. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to thank you for mentioning the sea level rise and that we're going to be doing a separate RFP because, as you know, that's been a significant concern of our residents for some time. You mentioned the RFP is going to go out in probably January of 2024. When would you hope or anticipate that we'll get the results of that? Not the selection of the organization to do the report, but when we might get a report. Are we still looking about an 18-month process?
I would have to look into it. I would assume that sounds like a reasonable time frame to get it done.
Okay.
We'll see what the proposals, when we get the proposals, what they suggest.
And, when we joined EBCE, we joined knowing that the residential rates to our customers would be cheaper than what they pay PG&E, and that was really one of the reasons why we joined. I know a number of cities have already transitioned over to renewable. We may be one of the few jurisdictions that have not.
As of last year, 6 had. As of, I think, April, the last data I've seen, 6 have. Others are.
And I know some cities have transitioned their commercial industrial manufacturing to renewable and left the residential with a bright choice. If this council were to look at that as an opportunity to, again, improve our climate action plan, what would you anticipate the cost increase to commercial industrial manufacturing users would be in making that switch? Are we talking a few cents per kilowatt hour type of increase?
a quarter of a cent
Would be
per
the,
kilowatt hour. Average PG&E rates are, for what I've seen, 38 cents, and this would be a quarter cent additional, so average 38 and a quarter cents, so 0.06%.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's something we might want to consider, colleagues, at some point, maybe converting over to renewable, maybe not on the residential side, because we made the commitment to keep those rates lower for our residents, but maybe on the commercial, industrial, manufacturing side, we might want to consider that. But I'll leave that for another day for us to have a conversation about that. Any other questions or comments? I need a motion and a second to accept.
Motion moved.
By Vice Mayor Collazo,
Second.
by Councilmember Jorgens. Please vote. And that passes unanimously.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark authorizing the city manager to execute a contractual Environmental Inc. for an update to the city's climate action plan and amend the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Is adopt a resolution to approve an exception to the 180-day waiting period for post-retirement employment and improve an employment agreement with Gina Anderson, Police Chief Gina Anderson, to serve as interim police chief pursuant to Government Code Section 7522.56 and 21221-H. If we take no action on this, Mr. Benoon, does that mean Chief Anderson just stays indefinitely until such time as we decide to revisit this item? I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Benoon.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, and members of the council. As the council is aware, Police Chief Gina Anderson will be retiring on December 29th of this year. The city has retained the services of a professional recruitment firm to assist with the recruitment of a new police chief. The recruitment will open before Chief Anderson retires, and that could potentially open as early as next week. While the city is engaged in the recruitment effort, the city will need someone to serve as the police chief. Chief Anderson is eminently qualified, having served as the city's police chief since 2020. This position is critical as it provides broad policy discretion for the activities of the police department, advises the city manager on matters pertaining to departmental programs and law enforcement, and participates as a member of the city's executive team. Under state law, Chief Anderson must generally wait for 180 days prior to being hired as a retired annuitant. However, in order for Chief Anderson to serve while in retirement, the council must adopt a resolution waiving the 180-day period and must certify that the appointment is necessary to fill a critically needed position. Those conditions are obviously present here, and the necessary findings are contained in the resolution that was attached to the staff report. Additionally, the attached resolution includes approval of Chief Anderson's employment agreement as the interim police chief. Under the employment agreement, Chief Anderson will be paid at the hourly rate of $135.43, which is within the salary range for the chief police position. Consistent with state law, Chief Anderson will not receive any other benefit, incentive, or any other form of compensation that would be in addition to this hourly rate. This will result in cost savings for the city as the permanent police chief position will remain vacant during this recruitment effort. Prior to this, or after the posting of the agenda, we did, at the start of this meeting, staff did place in a slip sheet. We had some last minute amendments requested by CalPERS. They requested that the proposed resolution include 2 additional items, one being that the start date for Chief Anderson to serve as the interim police chief be December 30th of 2023. They requested that that be inserted into the resolution, and also an end date for the interim appointment to be July 19th of 2024. That would be in the case that the recruitment went longer than anticipated. That concludes my staff report. Be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
I'll suggest from the outset that any motion and second includes the amendments as proposed by the city manager. Any questions or comments from colleagues? Any questions or comments from folks in the audience? Anybody online? Okay. I'll take a motion in a second.
Gladly move the motion.
By Councilmember Freitas.
Second.
By Councilmember Bucci. Please vote. And that passes unanimously.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark approving exception to the 180-day waiting period for retirement employment for serve as interim police chief pursuant 7522.56 and 21221H.
And if I heard you correctly, you said that that will expire in July of 2027? Is that what I heard? I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. I'm trying, Chief. The next. City Council matters. The next item is the approval of a motion appointing vice mayor and a resolution authorizing the vice mayor to execute financial documents. It's my pleasure to announce the vice mayor for the next calendar year is my colleague to my left, the longest-serving council member on the dais with 29 years, Councilmember Freitas. I'm proud to have you be our vice mayor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I gladly accept the appointment.
Would anybody like to speak to this item? City staff, any comment on this item? Madam, Ms. Flafter, any items? Okay, this is an action item. Any comments?
I'm happy to have the new vice mayor sitting next to me again.
Wow.
I sat next to him over there for years without move, so it's exciting.
Great, let's go ahead and vote on this item.
I should abstain.
What happens if he votes no?
I see that passes 2 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention, 1 recusal. Oh, no, that's a different vote. That passes unanimously 5-0. Congratulations, my friend.
Resolution of the City Council of Newark authorizing checks, warrants, and other instruments.
The next item is a resolution confirming my appointments to various agencies, boards, commissions, and committees. There were no changes in assignments. Thank you, colleagues, for all you do. You represent our great city of Newark on these committees, and your work is greatly appreciated, so I want to thank you for doing that. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to this item? Mr. Benoon, any comments on this item? Ms. Flafter, anybody online? Great. I need a motion and a second to accept these assignments.
So moved.
By Vice Mayor Coyas. Oh, shucks. Sorry. Moved by Councilmember Collazo.
Second.
By Councilmember Bucci.
Can I say something? On LinkedIn, I've been vice mayor for about 10 years. And it's staying that way for 1 more year.
I think former Vice Mayor Collazo might need to retake the ethics training.
The training I need is how to.
I'm going to remove, we're going to vote again. Okay, people. Let's see if we can do it. All right, it passes three ayes and 2 abstentions. Too much fun, too much fun. Colleagues, this is an opportunity to now speak on council matters. I know we're going to have a number of items regarding folks that have recently passed away. I want to mention that, and I'll give you an opportunity to comment on that once I've done that. But we will be closing the council meeting in honor of former Mayor Gus Morris and Robert Bob Raymond Hastings, Mr. Luis Billon, who we mentioned earlier today, and I've added Richard Durand, a longtime Newark resident. So I will read some information regarding those individuals, and I'll give you an opportunity to comment at that time. But are there any other council comments? Councilmember Bucci.
A couple items. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I just wanted to congratulate our recreation staff on another great tree lighting event. When we had started doing some of the design work and came up with our ideas about what the Civic Center could be, I think the tree lighting ceremony just really captures everything that we hoped it would be. We had over 1,000 people here. Staff kicked butt, PD kicked butt. We enjoyed having some of our nonprofits out, and I mean, just everybody really loved it. So it's one of my favorite nights of the year, and this year was no different. So a lot of kudos to our rec staff. I want to congratulate our own Chris Copatalo here for he just had a baby girl this last weekend. So congratulations to our city attorney. And then I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Yule, Kwanzaa, Festivus, whatever you celebrate. I hope you enjoy the holiday season with your family, and Happy New Year.
Councilmember Collazo.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I want to say how much I enjoyed being your vice mayor last year, for the past year. I want to congratulate Joe Stoner from the library. Reports came out yesterday, and there's so many projects, so many things that go on in the library. But yesterday I had the opportunity to read to the group Manitas en Acción. So the book I picked was Too Many Tamales. And it's a very cute story about little girl takes her mother's ring as she's making tamales, and all of a sudden she realizes she doesn't have the ring on, so her and her cousins eat all these tamales. And it was wonderful to see the kids and the parents enjoy the story that I love so much. But I took product with me. I took corn husks and masa and cheese. We made cheese tamales, so they got to take them home to cook them at home. It was so much fun. I loved it. And so kudos to Joe for everything he does. So many different projects out there, activities for the kids and stuff. I love our new library. I love everything that goes on in there. And with that, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, a very prosperous and happy and healthy new year for everybody. And do most of your shopping in Newark as much as you can. We have the new Costco. Get some of those presents in there, So stay safe and Feliz Navidad.
Excellent. Councilmember Jorgens.
Thank you. I also want to thank recreation staff. The tree lighting was fantastic. It has been for the last several years, and it's just a terrific opportunity to get the holiday season started. And then I just want to, wish everyone in the Newark community a very happy holiday season and encourage, anyone who can to find opportunities to give back and volunteer during the season.
Vice Mayor Freitas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I also like to congratulate the Recreation Department for the well-organized Christmas lighting. And I guess Friday night even works better than the Saturday because more people is attracted. So kudos to the department. And also I'd like to say goodbye to Beverly Lyons for a retirement. Beverly, we used to see you a lot here, so be missed, but enjoy your retirement. Along in front of you, the police chief, so wow. You promised to be with us for the next 10 years, so you're living at the end of the 5. So, Gene Anderson, the best wishes on your retirement. Eric, thank you for your services throughout, and we're looking to work with you on the next term, if you will. Now, the library report yesterday was a very impressive report too. So very impressive. The numbers, it's kudos to Joe, the library manager. And I'd like to wish my colleagues, families, city staff, the community in general, the wish a happy and safest holiday seasons to the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. In addition to adjourning the meeting in memory of Louis Billon, I would also adjourn the city council meeting in memory of former Fremont Mayor Gus Morrison, longtime Newark resident Camelia Chin, and CERT volunteer Bob Hastings, and a longtime Newark resident, Mr. Rick Durand. Let me just give you a little bit of information about these individuals. And again, after I'm done, I'm certainly willing to open up for your comments. Former Fremont Mayor Gus Morrison served on the Planning Commission from 1977 through 78, was first elected to the City Council in 1978, served as mayor in 1985 to 89, 1994 to 2004, and then in 2012. Some of his accomplishments include enacting a bill protection ordinance, building the Fremont Main Library, enacting a hill protection ordinance, building the Fremont Main Library, building and enlarging the senior center at Central Park, and establishing a shelter for the homeless. Camelia Chin grew up in Alameda, the third of 6 children of Chinese immigrants. They all worked in their family restaurant. She attended San Francisco State University and was a teacher for the Hayward Unified School District for 38 years. Camelia was married to her husband, Tom, who passed away in 2020 for over 50 years. Camelia lived in Newark for over 40 years. Camelia volunteered at the Don Edwards Wildlife Refuge and the Mercy Brown Bag Program. She made over 600 masks during the pandemic that were donated to Kaiser Hospital and the Newark Senior Center. Camelia was known as a keeper of her mother's family recipes, preparing traditional dishes for Chinese New Year's. Our condolences to the Chin family. Robert Bob Raymond Hastings was originally from Fitchburg, Massachusetts. In 1959, Bob enlisted in the United States Coast Guard, serving his country for over 47 years, 27 as an enlisted serviceman. He reached the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer in 1978, and his military service afforded him the opportunity to sail the world. Upon his retirement as Master Chief in 1986, Bob was reunited with the Coast Guard as the first civilian watch commander at Vessel Traffic Service in the San Francisco Bay Area, serving in this role on Yerba Buena Island until his second retirement in 2006. He married the love of his life, Mary Lucille Chagnon, in 1964. Together they raised 2 boys, John and Glenn. Bob enjoyed playing games, reading, and a good cup of coffee. Bob was a member of our CERT team for many years. Bob's dry sense of humor brought levity to pretty much every space he entered. Bob will be celebrated, remembered, and reunited with Mary on Monday, December 18th, 2023. Visitation will begin at 8:30 with a funeral service at 10 a.m., both of which will take place at Berg Pappas Smith Chapel of the Angels in Fremont, California. Rick Durand was a resident of Newark for over 60 years. He is survived by his wife of 68 years, Marguerite Durand, and his 5 children, Richard, Michael, Elizabeth, Christine, and Andrew. 13 grandchildren, 15 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren, and other family members. He was a devoted member of St. Edward's Catholic Church. He spent many years with his wife, Marguerite, counseling new marriage couples. He volunteered at Kaiser Hospital, volunteered for the Oakland A's, and he also volunteered at the Newark Senior Center. A celebration of life mass will be held at St. Edward Church at 10:30 on Thursday, December the 21st. And just like Rick, in lieu of flowers, he's asking you to donate to the Viola Blythe Community Service Center. So we close this council meeting in recognition of all of those fine citizens of our community, and we'll certainly open up to council for any last comments that they may have. Yes, Vice Mayor Freitas?
I want to congratulate you, especially on your selection for the Planning Commission. and the formal way even with the signature, it's a very formal. So I want to congratulate you on your beginning of your career as a mayor. I don't know his last name, but Julia. So it looks like you pick a person to be a very diversified on the planning commission. So congratulations to you and kudos.
Thank you.
And at the same time, too, I didn't know even Rich Durant passed away, so Mr. Durant, so it's a good friend of mine. So, but my deepest sympathies to the family and to. I'll be joining you on the.
Yeah.
That's conclusion.
My condolences to the families. It's the hardest time during the holidays when you're supposed to be celebrating and you lose a loved one. So my condolences and my prayers are with them.
Thank you. Councilmember Bucci?
Certainly been a rough time around here lately, and I was lucky to know all four of those folks, and they're going to certainly be missed around here. Bob Hastings was, many times I heard Alney talk about us being a volunteer town, and whenever I hear him talk about that, Bob was one of those guys that popped. And, he was awarded the Volunteer of the Year with the CERT program as a group. He was nominated on his own a number of times. Anybody who followed him online would look forward to he was our official rain calculator and would total up the rain after every storm and let us know how we were doing on the year. His wife, Mary, passed away in August, and, it's sad that, 4 months later he's gone, and you got to feel like part of that is a broken heart, but Bob was, definitely. And Bob was he was one of the good ones, Newark through and through, and he loved his country, and he served well in the Coast Guard. His son's name was John Glenn. So if that tells you what kind of person he was, So certainly our thoughts are with all their families during the holidays especially. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to join my colleagues in thanking Mr. Benoon, the Parks and Recreation Department, the Police Department, and all city staff that made the tree lighting ceremony an absolute success. That paseo that we've developed and designed is exactly what it's doing, what we hoped it would do, and bringing the community together. It's getting bigger every year, and it's just a real testament that that's what people expect in a small town atmosphere, that they can come together on any given day and celebrate. And that certainly was evident that night. So really a fine job by staff. I know there'll be other opportunities, Chief, to thank you for your service to our community, but I do want to continue to thank you and your command staff and all the officers that serve our great community. We live in a safe community and our residents feel safe as a result of the last survey that we did. No other city police department is going to come close to attaining that goal, and that's a testament to the hard work that your officers do day in and day out. So thank you for their service to our community. And then, as my colleagues also indicated, I wish everybody a safe and healthy and happy holiday season and a new year. And we'll start it off well in this city, because that's the type of community that we are. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Benoon. So anyone that thought I was going to lose that bet, for any last announcements.
Well, first, let me thank the council for your kind comments in regards to our tree lighting ceremony. I'll be sure to convey your sentiment to all of our staff, so thank you. Two quick updates. First, the Newark Police Department is hosting a toy drive. Donated toys will benefit children and families of Calico, Child Abuse Listening, Interviewing, and Coordination Center, as well as SAVE, Safe Alternatives to Violent Environments. SAVE is in need of toys for children 8 and under, and Calico's greatest need is for children ages 11 to 17. So residents are encouraged to donate a new unwrapped toy in one of the marked boxes inside the police department lobby, as well as City Hall lobby, and this is through December 17th. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our Police Officer Association President, Mr. Stephen Lozier, as well as Detective Sergeant Yama Hamayun for their efforts on this. Also, the Alameda County Fire Department is hosting a holiday toy drive on December 16th. So this is Saturday from 4 to 7 p.m. at Fire Station 28, located on Thornton Avenue. Santa Claus will be making an appearance. And Residents are also welcome to bring an unwrapped toy for that toy drive as well. So thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my comments.
And thank you for that reminder. I had two other comments. The Newark Symphonic Winds will be doing their annual Christmas show at the Newark High School this Saturday night at 7 p.m. 7 p.m., thank you. And are you going to be playing, Councilmember Jorgens? Outstanding. And I understand, former Mayor Smith will be there to read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and I think there will be an appearance that evening by Santa Claus as well. And then tomorrow night, the Newark Memorial High School Band Choir will have their Christmas concert at the high school, and I believe that starts at 7 o'clock also. So, these are local events. We should try to get out and support them because these are community members, students in our city, so we should try to get out there and support them. So those would be my last two announcements. This meeting is adjourned in memory of Gus Morrison, Camilla Chin, Bob Hastings, Louis Bayon, and Richard Durand. Thank you. That may be exactly for the